Hi, guys. Now, if you are running a complicated SaaS company doing possibly a variety of activities, ranging from having enterprise clients to normal SaaS customers who are paying you on a monthly basis, which may either be onboarded automatically or via sales staff, you are probably wondering, how the hell am I going to model this thing? And I can tell you, I went through exactly the same feeling because I built this when I was fundraising 20 million for an enterprise company. And we were selling pretty expensive packages to banks, insurance companies. And that revenue took time to come in, and it was pretty lumpy. We had different sources of revenue coming in, from license revenue to POC to maintenance and warranties. And it was a lot to deal with. And you know what? I spent months building this thing. And so I took what I did before, I combined it with all my other learnings from all the other models, and I made this. And this is hands down the most incredible, impressive model you are going to find on the internet. There is literally nothing like it. And so I'm going to have to run through this pretty fast to give you an overview of what's in it. And you know what? If you're building enterprise startup, this is going to be like a wet dream. So we've got an intro page, a formatting page where you can start when the model's going to work for your actuals and your forecasts, whether you're paying tax, which typically you do. And we have an actual sheet, a forecast sheet, and a P&L combined. All right. Your actuals are going to be what you've actually achieved to date. The forecast is going to pull in all of the numbers from all the sheets and put it in here, where you can make some extra little other assumptions. And then these will be combined together with both these sheets so that you can see the progression over time. Now, the next you're going to have is your depreciating amortization and your tax. If you're using this model, you probably understand some of these concepts. You can leave my assumptions as they are, or you can put in your own, including things like net operating losses. But it's investment banking quality. You can be as complicated or simple as you'd like. Then we've got KPIs, and yes, we've got a bunch of them. And they're like all the other sheets in the model have been grouped up. And we get detail from everything from your different sources of revenue from enterprise to your normal SaaS. And then we have a P&L for your deck, which you can copy and paste and put into your pitch deck if you like, or just use as a summary. You can add rows if you'd like. Nothing's linked to this. It's just an output. Then we've got a source and use sheet. So you can actually figure out how much you should be raising, for how many months that you need under your plan. Or on the basis of this, if you raise how much runway will you have? And we've got lots of cool charts from this Mary Mecca that I've made, use of funds, and you can see line by line how everything gets put into those boxes that you might see in, say, the pie chart. Then we have charts, which are pretty self-explanatory. I won't spend too much time on these, but yes, there's a lot of them where you can track pretty much everything that you'd like. Then for staff, of course, this is going to be a large component of this. And this model, I've done quite a lot of heavy lifting for you to try and automate quite a lot of things and make it easier to do. So you can put in the start date or end date of people, how much the salaries are, whether or not they have bonuses. And if you do a fundraise in future, if you're increasing those salaries, then what date will that happen? You can type in the names of everyone. And this works for G&A, your R&D, your sales and marketing, and your COGS. Okay, I'll come back to those in a sec. Then you don't want to waste a bunch of time figuring out how much paperclip is going to cost you. So you just put on the costs by the bulk per month, right? And various other rent, etc. costs that you might have per head. And those will be filtered into categories. Now, if you're just putting in the CEO, COO, etc., it's pretty simple stuff, okay? But say for your enterprise stuff, those are going to come out your revenue. So if you're doing a lot more projects, you're going to have more people. So how much are those going to cost? And the model is going to tell you how many people you actually need to hire and what the cost will be for them. All right. For your sales staff, you're going to forecast your revenue, and then the number of salespeople you need to actually hit those revenue targets will be calculated for you and automatically fed into the model. Same thing for other COGS costs, such as your customer care or success, internal engineering, professional services staff. If you do that. So it's all linked into this sheet, okay? Then for expenses, sure, you're going to have maybe payment costs for SaaS customers. You'll have tech expenses. You'll have email costs. let's not focus on too much on this because I know it's the enterprise part you're probably really interested in. I mentioned before you can forecast the salespeople. This is going to be backed out of your targeted revenue. Okay, so what will the productivity curves be for people? What is their on-target earnings going to have to be? And this will tell you how many people you need, right? And if you're going to have management layers, then those will be calculated on the basis of the number of account executives you have. So you have this for your SME sales, which SMEs just mean it's non-enterprise. And you'll have this for your enterprise staff, okay? Same sort of structure, and we'll have lots of, cohorts telling you exactly how many people you need, okay? Next, customer care, customer success, internal engineering. You may have these functions, you may not. If you don't, you can set them at 0, but let's have a quick look, all right? So basic, premium, pro, there's 3 types of SaaS package. Maybe you're providing more customer care to the pro guys as opposed to the basic guys. How long will you spend serving them? How many hours a day will people work? And then that'll tell you how many people you need. Same thing applies to customer success and your internal engineering. And those will then all be fed into your HR sheet as we went through in the staff, all right? So you see the sales staff are fed in here, and your COGS cost staff are fed into this sheet here. Now, moving swiftly along, for your SaaS customers are going to have expansion revenue, hopefully. Okay, so I've made 2 template models for you to do that really easily. So you can either do it on a module basis or on a seat basis, and you can select which type are you going to do. So for the module basis, all right, you're going to have 3 packages: your basic, your premium, and your pro. You're going to release features over time. What will the adoption be, right? So you can see you're getting incremental revenue from your customers. If you're going to take the seat-based, simply put, people are just going to buy more seats, right? More users. So how many average seats will people be buying over time? What's the price per seat you charge? And what's the average number of customers that are going to expand to seats over time? Okay, and so you'll get incremental revenue. So you can pick which one you want and see how that's going to contribute to the expansion revenue for your SaaS company, all right? For the non-enterprise element. And then you may do professional services. So that'll mean, who's going to be taking professional services, how much you're going to charge for them, right? And then, of course, you'll have the cost, and this will calculate the staff required, which will then, again, feed into your staff sheet, right? Professional services staff. For your SME, your normal SaaS, we've got, MRR and customer summaries. So you can, like KPIs, break out and see what's going on. We've got, as usual, like a hell of a lot of details. So you can really drill down into everything and see, how your MR breaks down from new customers, less your churn, upgrades, downgrades, plus expansion revenue, which is typically what VCs will want to see, right? And then to calculate your SME pricing, there are going to be 3 types of package, which I've made it as a template for you. And you can pick these again from the drop-down menu. And that's monthly fee, a usage fee, or a monthly end usage fee. So the usage thing is, think of it, say, like Zapier, where depending on how much you use it, you may get charged more. Whereas for a monthly fee, it's just your traditional SaaS, and you say, hey, $20 a month. So you can pick and choose what you want for the basic, premium, pro. And you'll see, let's say the standard monthly fee is you charge $59, you give a 20% discount in a year. And then this API part here is going to help you calculate your tech costs, because, say if you're pulling lots of API calls, that's going to cost you money, right? If you're just doing on a pure usage basis, then, how many API calls maybe they're going to do, or sell them by blocks, say 35 per 700 API calls they'll charge. So if they're taking, 5 blocks of that, then they're charging, $150 a month. Now, you may also have a combination of both, which is simply we charge, say, $75 a month, and then we also charge blocks for API calls, which add up together. And you can have discounts on that as well, if you like. Marketing is going to drive traffic to your site where it's going to convert, okay? So to what extent is this sales supported or automated? So auto onboard means there's no sales involvement. The SME means it's sales supported, which means the more customers you're going to get who have to be sales supported means the more salespeople you're going to have to hire in order to convert those people, right? Now, are your customers going to buy monthly or annual packages? So you can say 80% is monthly, 20% is annual, and maybe over time, more people buy annual packages. So you can just change those easily. Now, we have got monthly assumptions and we've got annual assumptions. And I know it looks like a lot of assumptions, but I put them on one sheet so you can track everything. So let's look at the monthly ones. You have 3 packages, your basic, your pro, and your premium. Okay, what percentage of your customers are going to go into each one, which again can change over time. Then from the people who actually trial, what percentage of those people are actually going to convert into those packages? And then we add in any customers that will come through channel sales, and I'll tell you the total number of monthly trials and the conversions that will happen to those packages. You can then plan an adoption curve to see how much time does it take for a trial user per cohort to then actually make the purchase. And you can see here it tells you it's going to take you 2 months. So 50% of people will purchase in the first month and the remaining 50% in the second month. You can also then calculate what percentage of trials will then go to conversions, say 25% or 30% for the SME versions, and see the implied adoption curve here. All right. Then we do our churn rates. You can type in the number of years the customer is going to stay with you, which implies like a 2.4% monthly churn rate. And say maybe this is going to be higher at the start, and then it's going to stabilize to your long-term churn rate. Now, if you're going to have package switching, which is say people sign up for the basic package and then upgrade to the premium, what percentage do that at the end of every month? Also, people will downgrade. Maybe they don't really find, the offering that you're providing super valuable, so they'll downgrade to lower paying packages. Now, the same basic logic applies for the annual customers, except they're going to pay up front for a certain amount of time. This is going to be important for you calculating the difference between your bookings and your billings and the actual revenue that's coming in, right? And I allow you to analyze all those differences. So again, where do people go in for the trials? What is the conversion that's going to happen over time? The adoption curves, and then this conversions from trials to paid over time with the actual implied adoption curve here. You can calculate your annual churn rate because, if you said that people are going to churn on an annual basis, it's only after a 12-month period will people drop out, right? So you say that's, say, 25% per year, which would imply a 2.4% monthly churn rate effectively. And of course, at that end of the 12-month period, do they upgrade? Do they downgrade? You can make these assumptions or, just in the yellow box, you just type in 0. We end up here now with a whole ton of calculations. This is a lot of horsepower. It's 2,100 rows of calculations, and it's all done on a cohort basis. Okay, so you can see quite how much is involved in this thing, right? And yes, this was really, really hard to do. The degree of accuracy in this is pretty astounding. Okay, so even if people are going to package switching, it'll know the package they're on before and what they'll be converting into. And the same thing happens for the annual version, except the calculations in this were way more complicated. And you'll see there's 6,000 rows of calculations to do this. There's no assumptions you need to put in this sheet. It just does all the work, right? So that's the end of the SME part. Let's get into the enterprise part, which is the thing which there's no other model and the whole of the internet around. And I know because I definitely wouldn't have worked my ass off 7 days a week trying to ship this thing out, okay? So easy. We can see graphs by clients, by countries, by client type, right? So you can drill down and understand the contribution that revenue is having to you. And I know investors care about this stuff, so you'll want to use these charts and maybe put them into a presentation. Here's where we're going to start labeling everything, okay? So as an enterprise company, you're going to have implementations and there's going to be payment schedules, right? You have different types of products, right? Different sizes of projects. So what you want to do is start out here is labeling them. So do you have a simple installation or custom development? So maybe a simple installation might take 3 months, whereas a custom will take you 9 months if it's the first time you're using that product. But maybe in future, a new customer using a custom development you did before will be a simple installation. Now, how do your payment timings schedules work? Is it after the sales close, after the end of a POC, after POC testing ends, after development ends, after your implementation ends, or maybe even after your warranty ends? That may be a point where you get a percentage of your license revenue or your maintenance revenues, etc. Now you can type in your client types. It's not hugely important. It just allows you to do analysis and categorize your customers, all right? Then you can pick the types of products that you're going to sell, allow you to have up to 10 different ones. Then just for categorization purposes and graphing, you can set what countries maybe your clients are coming from. And then this does matter your project size. Is it free? Are they small or very large, right? You can set different pricing depending on the project size. So first thing, just label everything. And then these labels will be transposed into drop-down menus, okay? You're going to want to analyze a number of cases depending on how you may perform, right? I know I had to do this and investors definitely scrutinized it. So I allow you to have 3 cases. The first one is your actual pipeline. This is what you actually have in the bank. You're pretty much sure you're going to get. And it does not assume, the bonus stuff, extra clients, extra expansion, okay? This is like your baseline case. The next one is the more optimistic one. These are the people who are sort of in the early parts of your sales funnel and you think you might get, right? So when you're proposing your plan, your goals, your targets, this is more sort of the upside case. Now, this may not apply to you, but the third case is assuming you can do value-based pricing, or what I call percentage of savings you deliver. Okay, so maybe in those cases, your license fees are going to be way bigger. So say normally you might charge 100K, but you're playing around with the idea of doing value-based pricing where maybe you charge 3 million, right? Because you're offering so much value to the customers. This allows you to show an alternative case with an alternative pricing model that may be far more lucrative. And so when I was pitching this, I said, look, we're not doing this yet. We started talking to clients about doing it. They seem to be okay with it. We haven't done it yet, but this is what the future might look like if we were able to implement this amazing pricing model. Now, the next one is what I call stage weighting, which with no weighting, it just says, look, here's what our forecasts are. We haven't discounted anything. Alternatively, we have stage weighting. So if you think of, your funnel, right? So you have, initiating discussion all the way down to, LOI sent or money in the bank, right? With a certain level of certainty, maybe it's 5% weighting or 100% weighting. This will allow you to switch between. So you can assign percentage weightings to each client as to how likely you think it's going to happen. And I promise you, this is something that if you really, if you have ambitious plans, investors don't quite believe you, it's a way for you to sort of bridge that gap and say, look, here's where we really think on a percentage of achievement basis that we will get, right? And so if you're a very early stages of discussion in your sales funnel, as your salespeople describe it, you can discount those heavily so that investors will give you more credibility for the things which are later in the funnel and more likely to happen. And here you can set, how you calculate your bookings. I assume, for 3-year basis that people stay around for 3 years. So my booking calculation will be 3 times my license revenue and not other revenues like training or maintenance, etc., which of course they're not going to keep paying you for. But license revenue may assume that you're going to book for 3 years of license fee revenue. Now, I enable you to also, figure out your recurring revenue, okay? So you'll see this is all forecast here. That's, recurring license revenue. And then you can see like the summary of the details of the contribution that's happening for your revenues and your billings and booking calculations, right? And what's coming from what clients, including ensuring that we include our existing projects in here so that we'll get recurring revenue from them too. Now it's time to map out your products, okay? And so, how long does it take for you to do an implementation? What is that sales cycle like, right? How much revenue are you going to make from people? I've got a big guide here, which explains how this works exactly. You can graphically see what your payment structures look like for your different sources of revenues, your license, setup and customization, training, maintenance support, POCs. This will explain it to you how it works. But to map this out, let's explain it. You'll set out the type of products you have, okay? So we got 10 products. Remember I mentioned before when we're labeling these out, 10 products, client types, implementation types, timing schedules, project sizes, right? You're going to map these out for each type that you have. So for product 1 may have different types of installations and different types of size. So product 1, is down here, something like 10 times, 9 times. We have a simple installation 3 times, and the size is small, medium, and large, okay? Now, we can see the sales closed, right? How many months does it take to close a deal for the sales team? 2 months. POC after sales close will take 3 months, but, right, for medium and large, the POC takes longer, right? The testing may be the same, depending on the organization. It'll take you 2 to 3 months, depending on the size. Implementation will take 2 months, and then you offer 2 months of warranty, okay? So you can see your total cycle, right, from start of sales all the way down to end of warranty is going to be between 13 and 16 months for your product one, from a small to large implementation. And depending how many products you have, you can just keep mapping this all out, right? So each one of these ends up with a unique cycle. Now, I want to talk about how you make money. You see these here? These now have been mapped out from above, right, with a unique index code. And you can set out how you make revenue. So for a small, simple installation of product one, we make 100K in license fees, which ideally we book 3 times. We'll charge 100K for setup and customization. We'll charge 25K to train them. It's one-off cost, and maintenance, etc., is going to be 50K, which your total revenue will be 275. Your bookings will end up being 475, which is 3 times the license plus setup, training, and maintenance. Now, do you charge POCs or not? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I highly recommend doing it. They will pay, even if they say that they won't. Just ask. Now, for case 3, we talked about our percentage of sales method. Just set it 0 if you don't care about this. But if you were looking to test, new value-based pricing models, this is a way of approaching it. So you map that out for everyone. And then you want to deal with your schedule of payments, right? Because people don't just give you all the money at once, right? Things happen at stages. So you'll say, all right, we get 20% of revenue when development ends, right? And then we'll get 80% of revenue when the implementation ends. So you just map out again, product one, simple installation, small, medium, large, what the payment happens. Like if you're always doing the same, you just set one, drag them all the way down, and it's just the same for everyone, right? You can see mine is the same. Now for your setup and customization, in my cases, I know these have more milestones, so you can have 4. Okay, so POC testing ends, development ends, implementation ends. If you want to change these, you just pick one, right? And the model calculates it. Just make sure the payment date is always after the one before, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. And then you do the same thing for training, maintenance and support with milestones, and POCs when you do that. So typically say when the sales close, right? And so that's it for mapping out all your products. Okay. Now we want to forecast how we're going to make our money. Okay. So we'll say case 1 is going to be what you've actually got in your pipeline. Case 2 is going to be your upside case. And 3 is going to be the variation of your case 2, but with the new pricing model. If you don't do that, just set everything as 1 or 2 or 0 if you're not doing anything, right? So that means that you're not making any money because you have clients. Now, I talked about stage weighting, which is about the probability. This is where you do it. So let's say case 1, we've got this simple, small installation of our product 7 for Google in Hong Kong. We know we're sort of halfway through our cycle, so we'll assign a weighting of 50%. And so if you toggle the stage weighting, which is not turned on, because you can see here, stage weight case none. If that's turned on to yes, 50% of the revenue will be attributable. Otherwise, it's not. Okay. Here it tells you how many products you've got going and how many clients you currently have, right? And the date that you actually sign them, so that the math will start pulling them out. You'll see they're blank, right, if the assumptions are not applied. Okay. So, for example, here you can type in your clients, Google. So maybe we're going to sell potentially 3 products with 3 upside and 1 variation on the percentage of sales. Okay, the countries, whatever, you can type them in. That's for your reference. Then you type in just with the drop-down menus, right? What the type is, the product type, the implementation is going to be, in maybe the project size. So you'll say, with Google, we're doing small products, or for Facebook, we're doing large implementations, but maybe a different product. So now, when do you start pitching your client, okay? Say it's the 1st of April. If you're doing a small, simple installation of product 7, right, which we mapped out, we know product 7, which is a small, simple installation, the sales cycle is 13 months, right? So it's going to take 13 months before you're potentially going to get all the revenue into your bank account, right? But that has to start on a date. But maybe you're going to hire people in the future and start doing more sales. Well, then that sales cycle has to start at a date. So you can type it's going to be in December 2017 or October 18, right? So you can forecast what you think is going to happen. Now, this is your initial client sale. So you start pitching Google and you think, do you know what? We think they might buy 3 products, okay? And so the math will work out how all the timing schedules are going to happen. You can see this is going to tell you when your license revenue is going to be paid out. It works all the way through for all the different streams of revenue that you're getting. I think this is training or POC revenue, right? So you're charging $50K for Google for this test, which is going to get paid to you in June 2017, right? So that's your initial sale, but you're not just going to sell them one product and not try and upsell them more products, right? So I think about this as expansion phase 1, expansion phase 2. So assuming you get the project in and Google's happy with it, you did it in Hong Kong, how many countries do you think they might roll that out to? Maybe 1 more, right? For this product 2, right? And then how many months gap do you think will take before Google tries this in Hong Kong, thinks, you know what, this is awesome. We've got to do it in, say, Malaysia or USA. Well, we'll expand it to 1, and then there'll be a 3-month gap before they start their sales process. Okay, and so you can track the dates of everything will happen, and then again, when you think the revenue will start coming into your bank account. And then you say, do you know what? Yay, they loved it. They're going to start expanding to more countries. So maybe they'll expand to 5 countries because in phase 2, yay, time to make more money. And again, there'll be a 3 or 6 month gap before they start rolling out to more countries. And then you can forecast when all these different streams of revenue are going to start coming in. You can see they're coming in around August 19, whereas, we're starting early in here because this is phase 2 and this is phase 3, right? So that's how you're going to forecast your enterprise revenue. This took me so long to figure out how to do. Next, you have to hire qualified people in order to execute on these projects, right? They're probably going to not always be the same. So you'll have to maybe do some custom things. So you'll have different types of people, from system analysts to quality assurance engineers. The simplest way to figure this out is what percentage of their time do they have to contribute to a project, right? So let's say you have a lot of software engineers have to spend 40% of their time a month on a project to be able to execute it. Well, if you're going to have 5 projects, 4 times 5's 2. So you're going to have 2 people in order to execute that. So you can see this yellow box here is your software engineers. So you could definitely need more of these guys as opposed to everyone else. And you'll see because we're getting lots more projects to execute on around this period, your staff are going to start ramping up. So you should typically know what percentage of a person's time needs to be allocated to a project from your experience, or you can make assumptions. I actually use this sheet operationally too to figure out what my hiring schedule needs to look like so I can hire in advance of them. And this will help you map out for all your projects, how many people you're going to need. Maybe use consultants or something, but you'll have to forecast on the basis of the projects that are coming in, how many people you're going to need, right? And so this is sure you know what I'm talking about. They'll help you kind of figure out how many people you're going to need for all these different projects, right? I find that really useful to do. And of course, this then feeds into your staff sheet, which we talked about some time ago. And you can see how many of these people you're going to need to hire, okay? So this will set out what the cost is, and then down here, it'll show you how many people you're going to need to have for it, all right? So here's the head count. So you'll see software engineers, which we said we need most of because it's 40% of their time on one project. They're going to be, probably one of the main areas of growth that we need to have to execute these projects. Yeah, you see, we're getting up to 5 people now. So getting back, we've kind of got an idea about what our staffing requirements going to be to execute on these large enterprise projects. That's the end of the enterprise part. So now when we think about the SME customers, those customers are typically going to come from marketing. So we have some benchmarks which you can use to see if your numbers make sense, but you'll do channel sales. How many leads are you going to get from what partner? Is it CPL, CPA structure? How much are you paying for these? Are there optimizations or increases in leads? And these will drive leads to your site, which you have to pay for. Then you'll have blogging, social, which you may or may not care about the stuff, but I have everything for you to forecast this. And it helps you maybe increase your organic rate so that your paid contribution will be smaller. You can do, email marketing, which hopefully will drive more users to your site, which again is going to decrease your effective CAC. You can type in your paid for, how much budget you're spending across different channels, which will probably increase over time. What is your CPC, which will effectively help you figure out your CAC. This will drive your marketing sheet where you have conversions, right? So maybe 4% come from traffic and to a trial, which then over time will turn from a trial to a paid customer, and how many trials, et cetera, you're getting in. So this is going to drive traffic to your SME part of it. Right? And you can see all the sections, because there's a lot of sheets, there's 10 megabyte model, are colored out. So the yellow part is the marketing aspect, the orange is for enterprise, the blue is for your SME SaaS, the greens are for your costs from your staff to general expenses, and we've got green for your KPIs and charts, blue for your P&Ls, and then just one for your formatting. Hey guys, I know I covered an incredible amount in this overview, but this model really is incredibly powerful. And if you're doing an enterprise startup, this is really, it's amazing. Like, it took me so long to do. I'm putting out for the most incredible price. I mean, I should really be charging tens of thousands of dollars for this, but of course, that's crazy. I highly recommend you checking this out. It should really, really save you a hell of a bunch of time. And honestly, there's just nothing like this on the internet. So thank you very much for spending time with me. If you're still here, awesome. Feel free to reach out to me if you've got any questions. This model is complicated. If you need, consulting for me to help bespoke this model for you, or you just don't have time, yes, I also do that too for quite a lot of founders. Please reach out. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.